It's been 8 months now since we had our first conversation.
You're British-Palestinian, you got family back there. It's been 8 months and 2 weeks since 7th of October. What has changed in Belal?
I've started to kind of go back more into my community, and I see myself now kind of yearning more and more for a return to my ancestral homeland.
How do you think we move forward? What is the solution here for there to be liberation and peace for the people of Palestine?
In the world, there are people who are greedy and people who are looking out for their own interests, and they don't want to stop that.
So you went to Egypt to send aid to Palestine. What was that like?
My dad and I, we went to Cairo, so we saw loads of injured patients from Gaza, we saw loads of families that were displaced. And there was this little kid, man, sweetest smile, man, he's just standing, but like... You know, I asked him, like, where's your mom? And yeah, she's gone. And it's always like that. They have literally this thing you just can't take away from them, which is that iman and the strength of it. It's like feeling complete almost within yourself. That's something that I learned from the people I've met in my trip to Cairo when I was in Gaza. And so I think that's only really possible when you kind of submit your will to the will of God.
So it's been about 8 months now since we had our first conversation, and how are you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How about yourself?
We're good. Frustrated because it's been 8 months and 2 weeks since 7th of October. There's been no resolutions, no ceasefire. How are you? You're British-Palestinian, you got family back there. How has this changed you? Like we spoke to you like 8 months ago, but what has changed in Belal since then?
I mean, it's been like a journey, I guess, like looking back since we last spoke. Man, I feel calm, I think, in myself more than before. And I feel like I've started to kind of go back more into like my family, my community, like even the title British-Palestinian, like I'm thinking to myself at this point, am I British enough? Am I Palestinian enough? And I feel more like I'm edging towards kind of like that sort of legacy or that history which, I missed out on, the beaches of Neanderthals, the village that my grandfather, grew up in, and I didn't kind of manage to. My dad had to grow up in Gaza instead. We were refugees in the Nakba. And I see myself now kind of yearning more and more for a return to my ancestral homeland.
You mentioned that you were refugees during the Nakba there. There's a lot of different perspectives that people bring on that. There's obviously the perspective that we subscribe to, that it was a horrific incident where people were forcefully expelled, over 700,000 people. But then there's the other narrative that a lot of these people just left of their own accord, or that they were told to do so by other Arab leaders. What is yours and your family's perspective on it? Like, what actually happened during that?
They took it away from us. I mean, that's it. That's the bottom line. There's nothing to it besides that. My grandfather was, even his body, we haven't even received for 50 years. We don't know what happened to him. In the newspapers that we read at the time, in the archives that I've looked into, there's a name, there's a prison where he died, there's a date, but besides that, that history's been erased. I mean, it's crazy kind of just seeing how like deep that sort of theft has gone, how deep that theft has gone. And it's a like they've literally robbed our homes from us and took us out forcefully. Of course, there were some Arab leaders, like there were some African leaders who sold slaves. Of course, there were some Arabs who did decide to sell land. And, I mean, there were some who fought back. There were some who tried to resist, my family included. And that I guess that storyline had, its ending at the time. But besides that, like, no, it's, for me, the way that I see it is literally like, this could have been my life. This could have been my home. I didn't have to come and experience being a minority, where I could have been living like, with my own piece of land by the beach, with my little farm, and all of these things that, kind of make up the small things that I think really matter in life. Of course, having a shelter over your head is an essential. Having food, water is an essential. All of these things. But, like, even being connected to the environment you're in, swimming in the mornings, for example, in the Mediterranean Sea with the sun basking on my face. When I was in Gaza, that was an experience that I cherish now. And every beach I go to, there's no beach like that one. Even my sisters, when they went for the first time to the Mediterranean Sea, man, tears of joy, smiling, laughing, just like, hey, this is where I'm meant to be. And that feeling over the past 8 months has only been strengthened by everything that's happened. We have a reason. We have a reason. And you can see it right in front of you, And the more that I kind of try and, feed the crocodile, I guess. And we can go into that. Like, when I say that, the more I try to show that, hey, guys, like, I'm Palestinian, but I'm not bad. Like, the more I try to feed the crocodile, the more I realize, hey, actually, no, it's just waiting to eat me last. This is a quote I saw by Loki the other day. It was someone else it was someone else's quote, but it was on Loki's Twitter, and it really made me reflect, because I was like, when I'm here, when I'm actually trying to engage, when I'm trying to convince people that I'm a human being, like, who are they at the end of the day besides, like, someone who's literally just using, my pleas and whatnot for, just to suppress in some kind of way. I mean, maybe I'm kind of, I don't know. I feel like I've kind of gone off on a tangent, but what I mean to say is, like, it's just, there's no point, I feel, in even trying to reconcile with someone who recognizes that what they're doing, like the depth of the tragedy. There's no point in me trying to come in and say, hey guys, wait, no, look, I'm nice. I have a British accent. I do this. Like, no, they know we're human. They know we're here. They know we're educated. They know we're smart. They know we can do whatever it is that they can do. Or maybe it's us that know it and they don't believe it. It could be that, we're just goyim to them,
That's heavy.
Yeah, sorry, boss.
Like, you said, like, we are having to justify, show these people that we're humans. We're capable of being nice. We have dreams. We feel pain just like you do. Do you think they're blatantly aware of this and they're just ignoring it? Or do you think there's been such systematic indoctrination that has taken place, especially in Israel, that these people, to convince them, like, how does one go about even convincing them to see other people as humans?
Yeah, I mean, look, there is obviously a lot to say about the education. You can talk about how Palestinians are depicted in the textbooks and what Israeli media shows Israel. I mean, at the end of the day, like, if anything, we have access maybe to different sides of the, equation, but maybe on that side, it's not as easy to find these kind of perspectives. I'm not sure if even my words would reach an Israeli ear within Israel, or even many Israeli ears. But, of course, like, the thing is, I only see, like, that the way that does work is to continue and to continue, like, with, the calls for, freedom, for liberation, all of these things. But on a personal level, as a Palestinian, my job essentially is to prove like them wrong. If they try to, sort of paint us in a certain way, just by smiling, I guess, and, being around people and giving a good impression of who you are as a person and individual, people like automatically are attracted to that. And I think it's not a matter less necessarily of whether you're Palestinian or Israeli. It's more like if you're a good person or not, if you're a decent human being, like other human beings will actually like get on with you. So that's literally like all that I can say. I mean, you can literally either feed into it, like hear that noise, and let it kind of dictate who you are. Just because someone sees you in a certain way, or you can just I guess like like fight for being allowed to be in those kind of spaces. And when you are in those spaces that many people from your background aren't allowed to occupy, leave a good impression, like all of these things the Prophet tells us, peace be upon him, to do. Like, I don't know, it's not really difficult, I guess, to let people, like, I don't know, like, you don't even have to talk about Palestine. Like, it's not like you go, when I'm on set, for example, I don't go to someone, I hold him by the hand, I shake him, I'm like, yo, like, free Gaza, innit, yeah? I don't do that, innit? But, like, what I do is, like, I just am myself. I'm me, I'm happy, I'm smiling, and I'm extra, like, charming, charismatic, whatever, and, go out of my way sometimes even, because, like, if anything, I want to make sure that if they ever find out that I'm Palestinian or from Gaza, and then, maybe they've seen a piece of content which, has led them to think that everyone from Palestine is, then there's a bit of kind of, discontinuation in that thought. Or what do they call it? Someone told me this. It's like, it's called, it's like, anyway, what I mean to say is they realize that what they see online is a lie, I guess, and what they see in real life is the truth, and they kind of, I guess, edge towards finding out more by getting to know you, as opposed to letting the media, I guess, like, pull you in a certain direction or way. But yeah.
I feel like you are a great representative for many Palestinians. Like, you may not, you might think that, I'm being too kind or things of that nature, but you did a podcast with that Israeli person. Yeah. Was it a Zionist versus Palestine? I don't know, what was the title of that podcast?
It was like Zionist teaches Palestinian a history lesson.
A history lesson. But
I've not seen this.
Yeah, and it got over 200, 300k views.
It's like best performing piece of content in the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's mad.
And the comments were really appreciating Belal, because he didn't try to demonize him. He didn't try to dehumanize him. So can you please tell us more about that conversation and how that went?
I actually bumped into Joseph at a protest in Birmingham, and when I saw him, just automatically, kind of my thing is, whenever I see someone I recognize, I just go up to them. Oh, nice, I know you, whatever, And like I said to you, and like, as I was saying before, like I have this thing where I really kind of over smile or whatever. It's like, hey, even though I'm Palestinian, I'm nice, It's like I'm trying to fix that. But I did that essentially. I went to him and I was like, hey, nice to meet you, whatever. And at that moment in time, we actually recorded an interview where I was being that smiley, charismatic Belal, and talking to him and stuff and whatever, and responding to everything that he was saying with actual good arguments. But you'll never see that piece of content. He didn't want to put it out there for some reason, because of the noise. I mean, there was an issue with noise. Anyway, I'm not gonna discredit the guy. He was very polite to me. He was very nice to me. The thing is, after we actually recorded that, bumped into each other, he followed me on Instagram and I followed him as well, and we were just starting kind of talking. I was waiting for that content to come out. We actually said, hey, let's actually record a longer form podcast. So I said, hey, okay, let's do it at my uni. So we did that. I set up etc., a little studio thing, and we had a conversation. The whole 2-hour conversation, if you didn't know there was 2 hours, is only available for members, so you have to pay for that. Obviously not to me, I don't get any of it, but towards the channel. So you have to be a member of the Israel Advocacy Movement channel for you to see that whole interview. What was unfortunate was that he selected clips where, I would be listening to what he was saying or what his kind of point of view perspective was. He'd take those kind of moments and, like, for example, he wouldn't put the parts where, I'd speak often, or even there'd be issues with like like audio, for example, that weren't fixed. Like his voice was louder than mine. It was small things like that. And I'm not saying that these were on purpose. I'm saying that like these were things I picked up on. And one thing that I was on purpose that he actually told me about, because I screenshotted this and sent it to him, and I asked him, or maybe he actually told me beforehand, was that he put the thumbnail was me looking really angry like this, cross, like this, and him looking like this, you know, like looking up and telling me and peaceful, right? And he was like, sorry, yeah, this is just, you know, for clickbait. And that kind of made sense. But, you know, feeding into that stereotype of a scary Palestinian. But, you know, when I went and sat down and did the interview with him, all of my lecturers told me, don't do it. Don't do it. Like, this is a stupid mistake. And part of me is like, actually, yeah, they're right. It was a stupid mistake, but it was also a learning experience. And I feel like I achieved what it was that I wanted to achieve. I didn't try to win the argument in terms of the verbal argument. I wanted to win the visual kind of argument, like the whole kind of, like you said, like being polite, kind, etc., respectful, listening, you know. All the comments there appreciated the fact that there were two people having a civil discussion. The content of the actual kind of discussion never really kind of made the surface of the comments or whatever. Like, it wasn't really what they were speaking about. And I think that's a lot of what we see these days. It's more like the mannerisms, the tone, and even in language when we speak, only 15% of what you kind of get across is your content of the words. Like, the rest is your tone, your body language, how you kind of whatever. And so I guess that's essentially what I tried to do. You know, I wore like this kind of, you know, like kind of edgy outfit, I guess, like these brown trousers and stuff. And then my classic brown jumper, you know, that's my go-to as like a recognizable thing. I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore, but I did that. And then I also wore a poppy as well. So that poppy, because at the time that we were recording this, there was this whole kind of debate around the clash between Remembrance Day and the protests in London, the pro-Palestinian protests. And so there was people speaking about kind of British values, all of these things. What was funny actually on the day, there was, you know, the whole thing with the cenotaph. It was actually the you know, the right wing, I guess, if that's what you call them, that made the issue with the police, not the, you know, the Palestinian protesters, who greatly outnumbered them. My boys as well, who went to the protest, told me about stories they had, like little clashes and whatnot, with, or like little kind of standoffs with the other protesters. But what I was saying was
wearing the poppy.
The poppy. Well, how did I go into that? No, I was just going off. Sorry, man. It's so hard to follow me. I know, man.
No, it's all good.
The poppy. I wore the poppy because of that, right? The cenotaph, etc. And Remembrance Day, and I wore the poppy because obviously that's the side of my British, you know, culture, you know, respecting the, you know, the time, etc. and whatnot, that, you know, the people, etc., sacrificed their lives. And, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, war, regardless of who's in it, is always, you know, led by donkeys. It's always lions that are sacrificed on the front lines, you know, and I feel so sorry for all of the people that are, you know, being, you know, led off to their demise when, you know, the decisions aren't in their hands, you know, it's not in their control. And so I wore that poppy as a kind of symbol, and I expected him to wear one, he didn't. But what I actually figured out afterwards, and it kind of felt like something from the universe, or from God actually, sorry, was that like the poppy itself is also a symbol or a national flower for Palestine as well. So obviously the colours of the poppy, the black, the red and the green, and, you know, the poppy kind of growing in times of war, and I think maybe even native to that area, I'm not entirely sure, but there was a link there between Palestine and the poppy, so there was almost like a double meaning behind kind of why I wore it. But, you know, like, at the end of the day, when I saw the comments, all of them were kind of a bit, you know, they were grateful that we weren't feeding into the whole clash of, you know, discussions and whatnot, like, and even when my auntie passed away as well, when she was killed, when she was murdered, he did, you know, he sent over his condolences, so I did really appreciate that as well. So yeah, man, it was a good experience in terms of figuring like how kind of the a little bit how it operates and how sort of people angle how what you say and what they pick. And it was a shame. I mean, he didn't really put anything that I said of value. He made some reels as well, like some shorts, TikToks, where he kind of got the upper hand and whatnot. And I'm willing for that to happen in any conversation. Have some points and I have some points. We'll have a civil discussion. At the end of the day, compromise is necessary, but if you're just gonna side, like just show your side, your perspective, at the end of the day, to those reels, what you saw in those reels, sorry, in the comments of those reels, what you saw was like loads of these, mean, spiteful comments, calling me whatever, all of these things. Firstly, I mean, reels, you need to have a reaction to get engagement. You need to be kind of whatever, provocative. I get it. But like, secondly, it's just like, like you're here doing that at the expense of children's lives, isn't it? Like, and that's the bottom line. Like, what's the expense? What's the cost? If we're here doing a drama show, okay, cool, like let's do it. But brother, like you're here literally using my face to get your point across, and what I'm losing is family members. Ugh.
Yeah, 37,000 people.
Yeah, it's that's just it's just dirty. I'm not gonna lie. Doing that, if you're gonna speak about issues like this when there's so much at stake, keeping the full version for members only, for a channel like Israel Advocacy Movement, where it's definitely going to be very one-sided. Everyone who listens to the full version anyway, they're not going to go and like take clips of Belal and publish them as reels. It's just a really dirty tactic. I'm not going to lie. There's things in life that are more valuable than like reels and views and all of that. Which he might not even be that bad of a guy, but I just feel like society and people's biases and things overtake them so much that it leads them to do things like this. And that's what you see with a lot of people in Israel as well. They're just so they feel like people are attacking them when they're calling for the freedom of Palestinians. Like, two things can be true at the same time. People can want freedom for the Palestinians and not want your death and destruction. However, they've been brainwashed like fully to think, no, their freedom means your destruction, when that just is not the case.
And that's what Hitler did as well. It was like for the Aryan race to survive and for Germany to thrive, it will mean taking more living space and basically the demise of others. This concept of superior race, I was watching a documentary on it yesterday, and I'm like, we just seeing this now, like it's happening again. To assume that, after World War One, they said, oh, there will never be another war, and then World War Two happens again, a genocide, right? 6 million Jews were, they went through a brutal genocide, and now their generations are doing that to the Arabs. You're like, man, you're like, how did we get here?
How do you think we move forward? Like, what is the solution here for there to be freedom, liberation, and peace for the people of Palestine?
I'm sorry, man. Yeah. That is such a hard question that many people have been trying to answer for many years. The solution is peace, love, and unity, and that's it. Unfortunately, in the world, there are people who are greedy and people who are looking out for their own interests, and they don't want to stop that. So what do we do besides, hey guys, please stop, please stop, please stop? I mean, like at my uni, there was the encampments and stuff, and that was a kind of action that sort of had some impact, of course, and like shout out to the students for doing that. But like, at the end of the day, you still have these people in positions where they need to protect their investments and whatever and all of these things. And man, in times of war, bro, the most lucrative, stocks, it's like, get onto that like wave as it's riding, going to the moon, so that's really like the core of it. It's that greed, it's that selfishness which consumes, not even everyone's expense, literally everyone's expense, but also like the environment's expense. Like we were even talking about the weather just recent. Like yesterday, it's June and it's raining, sunny, raining. It's like it's crazy. And I think like that's really the core of it. If you want to talk about like solution for Palestine, like you have to talk about solution for, you know, like other conflicts in the world where literally the same pattern has emerged, and that's there are a wealthy minority who are protecting their own interests at the expense of, you know, a majority that doesn't have as many resources and doesn't have, I guess, as much unity within that. You know, it's a very tight circle, and it's been like that. And man, you know, some people, you know, I hear they have so much money. I mean, I'm in circles where like I guess I know these people and stuff, and you know, like the only thing they say is, you know, but I'm not even rich. Like this other guy's richer than me, or he's richer than me, and it always just goes up. You know, I remember someone telling me, I can't believe there's people with less than 5k in their account, and I'm like, what? Like, and the next thing he's like, oh yeah, I'm going like, you know, going to ski over the weekend as well. So really and truly, there are people here who can't eat, people here dealing with a cost of living crisis, people who can't like heat their homes, etc. And then you have people out here who are literally like spending their money on, you know, like crazy things that they don't even need, like a golden steak, you know? Someone like dreams of even eating that. Brother, we could even do like qurbani, bro. We could even do it for like this Eid in Gaza, because bro, one sheep is 1,500, you know? So it's like dollars. So it's like there's just a great inequality in what's available, and that's because there are people who have exploited, you know, majority third, you know, not third world, but like majority global south countries, and now this is the result of it, and it's just always been like that, you know, taking our resources. You know, I watched this French documentary about the pirates. I think I'm not sure in Africa. I'm not sure which country. I think it's I'm not sure. I don't want to say. So pretty much there's an oil field, oil wells, etc., and the French are extracting it, and there are people local to the area who are in gangs and whatnot with AK-47s and, you know, ballied up and stuff, and they're, you know, trying to, you know, disrupt that kind of production, let's say, of the oil, and they're called pirates. And I'm thinking to myself, like, of course, obviously, their use of violence and whatnot is not justified, but it's like, bro, like how the French got there in the first place was through means of violence. And so, you know, like if you want to talk about how the world system is run by the monopoly of violence, and then you talk about how like someone who lives local to this, you know, bank of gold and doesn't even get a drip of it, how they kind of maybe even get like a little bit, you know, jealous, let's say. Like, how can you not expect that? You know, it's so weird. It's funny how that language is used, and how the moral superiority of, you know, this kind of the extractive state almost, you know, like it's so like transparently like see through now that it's just double standards, you know. I don't think, if anything, that we can even pretend to live in that kind of world of you know, that language even stands anymore. So you talk about in the past 8 months what's changed. It's almost like that kind of illusion almost has been, you know, lifted, and it has been for however many years, you know, that kind of maybe Western moral superiority. There are so many like loopholes that you can see now. It's just,
yeah. I think it's been unveiled more clearly during these past 8 months than it ever has been before. And the craziest part is like everything you just mentioned. If someone was watching a film, they're always on the side of the resistance, and then they understand it, whether that's Star Wars, whether it's Hunger Games, that Dune film. The resistance to them in films, it always makes so much sense. But now you put it in real life, and they have their own personal biases and things that they might have to risk for the underprivileged to come up a little bit, and then no one understands it. Then there's always a reason to why those people are like barbarians and savages and we're civilized. I don't understand how just like even a little bit of self-reflection when they're watching something like that would get them to understand. But I think they don't want to. They want to live in that ignorance a little bit, because then if it goes on, like, it's not really your fault.
Yeah, they can't bear the guilt. Even like Hitler's journals, like the one second to him, Goering, all of them, they didn't take any accountability that we were just blindly following Hitler. He had the wheel. But you guys help Hitler get that power, and it's just this dissociation, like just to protect their moral integrity and their soul and spirit. But you're just as complicit.
Yeah, I mean, God literally says, when the people are chucked in the hellfire, they'll literally say, hey, it was him. He was the reason why I did that. And God will say no. And not even God, like the person that you point out will say, no, I didn't make you do it. So even Hitler will say to them as well, to his generals, he will say to them, I wasn't the reason. I didn't force you to do it. You were the reason you did it, and you have to basically face your own punishment for your own actions. So, do you know what's crazy? Like, I think I'm really actually kind of like grateful to a certain extent. Obviously, despite what's happened, that my connection, I think, with God has become much stronger as well. That faith in Iman. When you're in that moment of kind of being lost and not knowing what direction to go, I'm really grateful that God kind of gave me a kind of a rope to hang on to. So like there's no kind of qualms regarding like what the justice that they'll receive for what they do, and every individual is responsible for their own actions. I'd rather die than kill a child.
When and how did that happen, that your connection with God, like, one would only assume that based on the suffering that's going on, that their faith would weaken. They would question God, where are you? In such times, how did your faith get stronger?
I think there has to be a bedrock already, like, there. So my foundation is already there. So my childhood, growing up and whatnot, like, I had parents who with a religious background that made sure that I was educated regarding the religion. At the same time, when it comes to religion, part of it is you have to explore, you have to doubt a lot of what you actually think and whatever. And obviously, when you doubt and you question and you explore, the only really conclusion that you can come to is that God was right all along. And that's what I kind of came to. I feel like I spent 4 years in London sort of kind of questioning, debating. Obviously, I did like philosophy or whatnot. I did PPE for like my undergrads, and a lot of that was kind of thinking and pondering. And so a lot of my value system growing up was based on getting a good job here, maybe working for the BBC, all of these things. And really and truly, I kind of saw I looked up to an extent, like, sort of a lifestyle here and whatnot. But, when I saw sort of like there was no hope necessarily, even in terms of making, we can't rely on humans. You can't depend on an individual and whatnot. Like, I don't know, like, it's there. I don't know. It's there. You can't describe. You just take the step, and you have to just go with it, and you'll get carried. But I'd never say that there was like kind of a like finding almost like a connection. Like, I'd say it was always there, and it's always still there. But even in terms of like your actions, your day to day, like your routine and your commitment and consistency, not being lazy, for example, is an important rule. Like, it's not just about looking or having a beard or whatever to say that I'm a Muslim. It's about obviously the 5 pillars of getting your iman straight and fixed. But of course, there's giving to people, giving to charity, smiling, making sure that you're someone who's reliable, that you're trustworthy, honest. These things, these like small things that a human being just can't make up, human being just can't create. Like essentially the Quran was made for the preservation of mankind. And what does that mean? I mean, Like, you're here as a human being in your limited life of 60, 70, 80 years maybe, and all of your thoughts, essentially, no matter how long term you try to build, you know, compared to human civilization, if you think about the kind of development sort of over time, your actions and whatnot, like, could deeply affect that sort of trajectory. And so there's no human being that has the foresight to kind of give the best way of having a healthy society over a long period of time. It has to be something that's beyond humanity. It has to be the creator that's telling me how I should live my life and how I should return and whatnot. And I think really and truly, like, the more that I looked into the Quran, the more that I read, the more that I prayed, the more that I, made dua and saw things coming into fruition, the more that my iman was, like, strengthened, the more I became, detached to all of those dreams of working for the BBC and all of these whatever, like, all of these kind of, walking on a red carpet and whatnot. Like, it didn't matter as much to me anymore. And when that happened, when I actually felt like I was, using tawakkul, kind of almost like going, putting your faith fully in Allah as you're embarking on your journey. It's kind of like, regardless of any obstacle, Allah will carry me through. When I started using that tawakkul, a lot of what I was actually wanting and desiring and all of these things started to fall into my lap. And so I watched the TEDx talk, I remember, like 5 years ago, which talks about kind of how, they almost like rehabilitated people in prisons to start like being creative and whatnot. And the first step was to forego the conclusion, to kind of not think about being on a red carpet, to not think about accepting an award, just to think about what you're doing right now and how you can be the best at it right now. And then just eventually that kind of conclusion, whatever that thing you want, will come, and it will emerge. So I don't know. Like there wasn't necessarily a finding again or anything. It was just a strengthening. It was more of like just it became stronger and stronger. And now I feel like, the only thing I really want to do is just make sure that everything I do is ensuring that I get to the highest place I can, and if I can, in heaven. So yeah.
Mm. Last time we spoke, you were involved with the Labour Party. I think you had just been to the conference as well. Where do you stand with that now?
I left the Labour Party around, I think, March or something along those lines. It was at a time when I was actually getting paid like £300 an hour to take pictures in like Westminster with like with like Rachel Reeves and shit. And then I was also like kind of part of this committee which was kind of helping in terms of connecting like London students and whatnot. The people there were nice, they were lovely, like everyone there, I can't deny it. Like, maybe I didn't stay long enough and whatnot to get to know them on a deeper level, but on a surface level, like, everyone's smiley and stuff. And I think that's how politics works. No one goes in politics screaming and shouting, "You get out the door." But yeah,
You'll be surprised, bro. You know more about Pakistani politics.
really.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
toxic.
a different culture, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, like, on an individual level, people were really nice. They're encouraging. I guess me as a Gazan British, Gazan Brummy. I don't really say British, but I guess Gazan Brummy is what I'm saying now. It's like my new thing. Like, I I realized like that at the end of the day, I'm always going to be a licking someone else's boot. I remember when George Galloway got his MP, when he got elected, and I congratulated him, and someone from the party messaged me being like, "Hey, take that down, or if you're serious about wanting a job with us in the party in the next 10 years, take that post down." Huh? What? Sorry? Say that again? And this was a guy that he's made like kind of like a mate of mine. We had some mutuals and stuff. I said, "Mate, you don't control my future. Like, damn, you do think you are?" At the end of the day, you're telling me like what I should think. And I did take it down. Why? Because it's against party rules. I wasn't aware at the time. But like I felt sort of like I'm gonna have to constantly cut my own like wings or whatever just so I can fit in through this narrow door. They only want to see a Palestinian how they want to see a Palestinian. They don't want to see me for like whatever I want to. It's about how they can use me. And that's kind of how it felt. I was also like I was part of the Richard Parker campaign, just for a very small part. I wouldn't say I was part of it. I'm not going to say I'm associated with him or anything. Like, don't worry, so please don't come after me. But I did take like some pictures. I volunteered one time in like January, December time, I think. So this was like raw after October. Like this was me running, trying to have an influence. Like in conference, I went up to everybody trying to shake their hands and like whatever. It's like, hey, like I'm like, you know what I mean? Like the thing that I'm trying to get rid of, or I feel like I'm getting rid of now. That kind of, hey, I'm a nice Palestinian. Like I was doing all of that at the time, and so I did that, and I was taking pictures for Richard Parker while he was campaigning out in Moseley, and there was an elderly woman. It's not elderly, sorry, she's an older woman, around maybe 70 or something, and she was getting into all of the pictures with the Palestine flag. So she was waving it like this, getting into all the pictures, and she was like a nuisance for them at the time. But they didn't know how to deal with her really, because I mean, like she's holding the Palestine flag, and if they do anything with like obviously this candidate, and they know how sensitive it is at the time, then they're gonna be. So guess who stepped in? What? When my dad heard that story, when my dad heard that story, do you know what bro, oh my God, I apologize to that woman, man. Like I'm so sorry. I'm so genuinely sorry, because like at the time I thought I was doing right by kind of getting her to, trying to get the picture with her or not, and like actually saying to her, hey, get the flag down. But I literally said to her, like, you're using my identity as a token. Like, what was I even thinking at the time? Like, that's the level that I was at. I was there trying to literally suppress the fact that my own family were dying just so I can take pictures for someone who's at the end of the day launched their campaign with the leader of the Friends of Israel, Steve McCabe. Like, damn, you're telling me that I am literally letting that happen at the expense of what? So Loki sat me down, right, him and my dad, in in a cafe, the one that's in the Grenfell music video, and yeah, he was like, yo, I get what you're trying to do, man. And he was like, yo, man, like, it's just, they're never gonna accept you, and I got it, I understood at that moment. I was like, and my dad as well, he told me, because the thing is, I originally joined because my dad told me to, like a year before kind of October happened. He was like, yeah, man, get involved with whatever politics, so we can whatever contribute to the society and whatnot. And we need like representation and stuff. So he's encouraging me to like actually get involved, and that's why I was involved. But when my dad told me to stop, I stopped. Obviously, like, it's just kind of like these, two great figures in my life, obviously my dad and Loki, giving me this advice. I left on that day. I understood, like, these are the people that actually have love for me. These are the people that actually will look out for me. These aren't the people that are gonna, barely shake my hand when I extend it and look away when I do. These aren't the people that are gonna, smile in my face and behind my back say nasty things. These are the people that behind my back are gonna stand up for me, and that's a big difference. Regardless of the £300 an hour, regardless of the money, regardless of the rooms that I was in, these people I watched when I was growing up, these people I had access to, that's nothing compared to the love that my family showed me. That's nothing compared to the love my community showed me. That's nothing compared to the love that you guys, my friends, show me as well. And that's the environment I want to be in. I had the time to experiment. I went to the edge of whatever it was that, obviously I could have went much further. But alhamdulillah, God saved me from it. He showed me a glimpse of that sort of lifestyle, and I don't like it. So I left.
And that's very unfortunate, because there are great people like yourself with pure intention that go into politics, with the intention of, again, bringing good. And the system is so corrupting that if you don't use certain language or if you don't behave certain way, and if you're not like, they're forcing you to be almost like, oh guys, I'm from Palestine, treat me like a human, or I'm a human, I'm the nice. Like the fact that they're having you to, like the fact that they're having you to act in that way shows how fucked up the system is, essentially. You know, and how just this corrupted the system is, and how the young generation that has good intention is put off by politics, and then it's left to the crooks. And then that makes me wonder, what's the solution here?
Yeah, and it always comes with the advantage of like nice, meaning people that, like, the people I met when I went to these events and whatnot, like the people that encouraged me, and that even during October, like there were at the conference, there were like a group of counsellors, Sandwell counsellors, that, you know, wore the Palestine lanyard and actually looked out for me during that time. So when I was there, obviously the leadership was saying one thing, but the people were kind of saying something else. I mean, obviously it was kind of split half and half to an extent, but there were people that outwardly wore that Palestine lanyard, and there were people that went out of their way to ask me how I was and whatnot, and I really do appreciate them. And it's such a shame that, like, when it comes to it, even Keir Starmer, bro, in 2015, like, he was speaking at Palestine, kind of pro-Palestine, you know, events. The things he's backtracked on, it's crazy. And it goes to show you, man, like, the people that you see, the faces that you see, really and truly, they you know, they answer to somebody, and that somebody we don't know. You know, that's somebody we have no idea, who we can't access. And unfortunately, if they don't appeal to that somebody is going to destroy them. And who wants to be destroyed, man? Who wants to go through that, like, you know, like being dragged all over the tablets and whatnot? Like, who wants to have that kind of target on their family and whatnot? Like, bro, I mean, I'm sure, like, I've been seeing a lot, even just sort of with what, you know, people have been saying with the Clinton picture. And I mean, I can't even bear, like, just to think, like, how cruel it can be as an experience, just being dragged for something that you don't even agree with.
Yeah, and picture that was from 2 years ago, and at the event they didn't even meet. And then for news outlet to show that, oh look, my sister supports Hillary. I mean, you can be in the same room as another crooked person. That doesn't mean you agree to what their beliefs are, right? Like, again, you work for Labour Party, but that doesn't mean you want anti-Palestine, right? You were trying to do good. You were trying to change the system. Of course, the system let you down, you know, and for your own sanity and for your own moral integrity, you had to take a step out. But for someone to assume that, you know, just because you're seen with a guy or another person that has crooked moral values, then ultimately so do you, which makes no sense. But, you know, we got to keep our intentions pure, and that's what keeps us going, I guess.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about Euro relief. So you went to Egypt to send aid to Palestine. Tell us about the experience. What was that like?
So yeah, this was the second half of Ramadan. My dad and I went originally, actually, initially it was my dad and I. We went to Cairo, and what we did was we checked out the warehouses and, you know, all the, you know, the different kind of, met different people, like the Palestinian Embassy, Red Crescent Society and whatnot. My brother joined us, you know, a few days after as well, and that was a lot of fun. So we spent Ramadan with family as well. That was nice. So we saw loads of injured patients from Gaza. We saw loads of families that were displaced, people, children, even orphans, kind of, you know, just living in Cairo right now with essentially, you know, a lot of them nowhere to go. And so it was a privilege and an honor and whatever it is that I can say to describe a full, wholesome, fulfilling experience, to go and actually, you know, support them and stand with them and capture their stories, you know, and get their perspective. Even like from my side of things, you know, I did a lot of interviews, I asked a lot. So for example, Muhammad, he was an amputee, and I got an interview with him that I'm, you know, working on, etc., and a family as well that spoke about their experience when, you know, the father of the family was supposed to be in I think it was Al Shifa hospital, and what happened was, you know, they obviously had no connection and whatnot. They didn't know where their dad was for a number of days or weeks or something along those lines. But thankfully, they both they all managed to escape, if that's the word. But yeah, it was an experience that kind of, you know, affirmed to me that was my calling, I guess, like that I actually want to do this. Part of me growing up was like, you ask like, why was I born this way, you know, and whatnot, like, why do I have to deal with this? And because there aren't many other you know, people that I guess are in the same position, you feel a certain responsibility, and that can carry a lot of weight, that responsibility. You know, you feel like you have to do something and almost like you're forced to do something. But that trip for me was like, no, I want to do something. I have to do something. I need to do something. I remember speaking to this kid when you have your cameras out and stuff, like you have always the kids, they come up and like, can I take a picture? Can I take? And there was this little kid, man, sweetest smile, man. He's just standing, but like, bro, as I was talking to him, I was like, oh yeah, like, what is that? Where's your mom? Oh man, bro. Fuck. Bro, like, I don't know what to say, man. Like, I was saying, you know, I asked him, like, where's your mom? And, you know, like, it's just, yeah, she's gone. And it's always like that. It's always like that. Every conversation.
We can cut it, bro.
Nah, bro. No way. I'm not cutting this shit, bro. I'm not cutting this.
No, not out of the podcast. Like, do you want a break?
Nah, bro. Nah. Like, this is the reality. I mean, like, at the end of the day, bro, like, you really think, like, we're just pictures, images, like, videos on a screen. You don't think these are people we actually love and care for. Or you're telling me this kid, 6, 7 years old, gonna grow up with no mom for the rest of his life, and you think that's fine, and you think we won't say anything. That's so dumb. Oh my god, like, oh, this guy, bro. These guys, man. I swear to God, it's crazy just to even think or like just imagine the situation like that you know that the Palestinians are in right now, that I'm in. I mean, I'm not even. I'm the lucky one, I guess. You know, having lost 60. But no, there are people there who are living in tents. I remember my uncle's homes, beautiful places, well taken care of, clean, you know, and they'd always invite us, even though they didn't have much, like, kind of in terms of meat or whatever, they'd always give us the chicken and the whatever they يعني بيكرموا عندهم ضيافة basically, يعني in a sense it's like they really take care of you. I mean, they welcome you, whatever, like, you know, there's so much love. And now they live in tents, and now they have to walk for water, and now like 100 share a bathroom, and, you know, it's no education, opportunities, all of these things. It's like every day what they do is they, you know, they're left to post on Facebook. And so every time I open, I guess my experience of it, me being is just reading constantly my uncles talking about their kids that they've lost, always putting their pictures. So like one of my uncles on Eid, like put a picture of him and his son from like a year ago. I'll read it to you guys. It was a picture of him and his son, who's now unfortunately gone. And yeah, let's find this. Give me one sec. Where is this? I put it. I literally screenshot it. Yeah. Sorry, man. This is like awful for attention, isn't it? Everyone's gonna click off as I'm looking. Sorry. What is it? Oh, I put it on my LinkedIn. Let me just.
I'll just add, this is why it's so infuriating when you have these narratives in the West where everything's just a numbers game. It's like, oh, it's 20,000, no, it's 25,000, no, it's 30,000, now it's 40,000. It doesn't matter how many tens of thousands or specifically how many to the exact digit people have died. It's like they truly do not see these people as human beings. It is literally just a number. It's so crazy to me.
And if it's like, let's say it's not 37,000, if it's 30,000, let's say, right? Or let's say it's 20,000. Let's say for their sake. Well, where do you draw the line to just think that, this is actually getting out of hand?
It's
until they're all wiped out and dead. Like, where do we draw the line? And this is why the media needs to do more storytelling rather than basically making people into statistic. Because that's why people are just, they can't connect. When they don't hear the stories of, it's a little kid who's lost his mother, how is he going to live his life? People don't get to think and contemplate this question. That they don't have to, and they also, the media doesn't even encourage them to. That imagine you're a kid without parents, but by the way, you literally saw them die. So now for the rest of your life, not only do you have PTSD, but you want to take revenge. What are you gonna probably do with that energy, that hate you carry? Become radicalized. But I had
So imagine people telling you as well on top of that, like, hey, be hold out, be patient and stuff. As they're munching their food, being like, drinking their water, being like, oh, it's fine, you can deal with it. Be strong, be resilient.
You see, as this is disrespect. Like when my sister almost died, right, when she got shot. For years, man, for the next 2 years, I wanted to do the most horrible things to the Taliban, like the amount of images I was creating in my head, and the types of images where I'm cutting them, stitching them back up, cutting them again and again and again, and just wanting to like do horrible things like tenfold, right? I mean, I was lucky then. People tell you, oh, revenge is not the answer and all that stuff, but they don't have great mentors like my dad. They don't have a dad. They don't have a father. They don't have a mother. You get what I'm saying? Like, so it's really fucked up, man, because for 2 years I was just literally eating myself up by having these vengeful things, and I got lucky. I was the lucky one. My sister survived. Bro, 37,000, man, and they're kind of like families, bro. Imagine losing a whole family. Everyone, and they're missing limbs, heads. Kids are missing heads. Like, I can't,
a
man.
5-year-old left in this world just on his own with no one. Like at that age, what are you supposed to do,
bro? It's good, man. Honestly,
it is genuinely so infuriating when they get so caught up over the numbers. Like, it's not a genocide because there's not 100,000 or 500. It's so stupid. Our minds cannot even comprehend more than 100 people dying at a time. So why are you pretending that, because it's not over a certain threshold, that it's okay? It's not okay. Every life is valuable, and it's not even like... all that matters to them now is the people that are dead. If you're not dead, your life is just, it doesn't matter. If your life has been destroyed, you've lost all your family members, but you're alive, it's okay, because you're not adding to that threshold to where it would be a genocide. Like, it's so crazy. People have lost everything, but they're not part of that 37,000, so it doesn't matter. Like, do you know what I mean? It's all that matters is the number of people who have died. But there's countless people who've lost their families, who've lost limbs, who have basically, they feel like they have nothing to live for, and we're supposed to just accept that. Okay, it's what they did with our part of the world as well. Like, as they were leaving Afghanistan, they dropped the mother of all bombs, the biggest bomb ever, just for fun, for literally no reason. So many people died, like, we don't even know how many people died, and they just did it basically for a laugh.
Crazy. Remember those people holding on to that plane?
Yeah, trying to leave.
Yeah.
But
they were just falling from it, man.
So mad, because that's exactly how I saw my own like kind of contribution, whatever, with the Labour Party and whatnot, I was like, they took their dogs with them. And I'll be the one clinging on the plane. Hey, please let me in. Hey, let me on board.
And the people who helped them, the translators and stuff, now they're shipping them off to Rwanda. When they've come here to seek help from the people that they helped, they're shipping them off to Rwanda.
A world, like, I guess, where, you know, I mean, it just seems to just be the case. And unfortunately, it is big eat small. And we're the small ones. So, yeah.
What would you say to that kid, man?
Oh, man. Of course, bro. I looked him in his eyes. I gave him a hug. I told him, it's fine. I'm really sorry to hear it and whatnot, you know. But obviously, like, you know, there wasn't really much to say. And even now, there's not really much to say when it comes to what's happened. You know, so many people have lost so much. They've felt so much that they almost feel kind of drained by all the emotion. And it's almost like that's what they kind of want from us. They want us to expend all of our, you know, energy so that we have nothing left when they actually make a move. But right now, I mean, yeah, like what I told the kids. It's him. It's every conversation, man. It's every time, bro.
What did you learn from that?
How to love, how to have faith, how to have iman, how to have peace, how to genuinely like what actually matters in life, you know. I think that's what I learned. Because no matter like the money, no matter the whatever, the status, no matter the car, like, do you know how many people feel empty inside, like here in the UK? Like, genuinely. Do you think they feel empty there? Of course they do now with what's happening, but I mean during normal times. Of course people still want more and whatnot, but do you think they feel that same emptiness that we feel when we're here? Or the people even here, rotting?
I don't think they even get opportunity to contemplate, you know, existential questions, and they're probably thinking about their next meal.
I mean, obviously you have time to always think, you know, when you're going to bed, when you're sleeping, when you can't, well, the drone is on, you're always thinking about your existence. So my cousin actually sent me, you know, a diary entry that he wrote. It was quite long. It was about kind of depression and what it means and how it affects and whatnot. And like, there's a lot of time to contemplate because you're not working, you're not studying, etc. So more time, like, you're literally just, you know, you're either eating or you're sleeping or you're running away from something, I guess. Like, but no, they have literally like this thing you just can't take away from them, which is that iman and the strength of it. It's like this. It's so like, that's the only way I can describe it. It's that feeling complete almost within yourself. Obviously knowing that there are challenges or whatever, but in yourself at least, like going to sleep, feeling calm, all of these things. That's something that I learned from the people I've met, you know, in my trip to Cairo, when I was in Gaza, all over, you know. It's that thing. And so I think that's only really possible when you kind of submit your will to the will of God, and yeah, and kind of, you know, ignore the whispers of the shaitan. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us again. It's always a very moving conversation.
I can't believe we're finishing, like, down.
It went by quick.
Yeah.
And thank you for opening up about, you know, your experience at the Labour Party. Like, it takes a lot of courage to, you know, share such a, what you would, you know, you I mean, you probably, I don't know, I assume that the amount of guilt that you must have like gone through, and the fact that you want to share that to publicly in order to inspire people to not make the same mistake as you, that takes courage. So I really appreciate you bringing that authenticity and telling us about other moving stories, and just being like you. And you're a great representative for peace, not just in Palestine but everywhere. And most importantly, you're a great friend to us, and we are very lucky to have you in our life. Yeah.
No, but genuinely, like I do feel like there's so much more to say, and I'm genuinely, like I do appreciate the times where I'm given this chance to genuinely kind of feel comfortable enough to almost I'm sitting like this. I even know, but it's only possible with you guys, and I really do appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you. Well, I'll ask you the last question. What would you want written on your tombstone, Belal?
A.
Just that's it.
A.
Yeah. That's
The letter A.
No, just like A. Like A Y Y Y.
Oh, A. Okay. All right, man. Well, you gotta come back. We're gonna ask you this question again. I'm not taking this. So your parents gonna ask me like, God forbid one day, like if you go in, they might call us like, be like, oh, like is his funeral, like we're gonna bury him. They're like, oh yeah, so Bilal wanted A written on his tombstone. Your dad would be like, yo, are you taking the piss? Bro, you would come with a slipper and beat the shit out of you. I can't say that to him. I'm gonna have to send him the clip, to be fair. He was like, oh, my son was a great man, but what a stupid thing to say.
Bro, no, it'd probably be like someone in Arabic, like it would be like someone like a Quranic verse or something along those lines, like I don't know, man.
And next time, come over, Ben, man.
We'll give you time to think about it.
Bro,
and
come
then
on,
next
man.
time when you're back on the podcast, you'll have an answer.
That was the best answer you had.
No.
Hey.
My mind just raced through something. I was like, hey, it's just like it's so like reliable. That's like
Hey, maybe we're ignorant. Maybe it's got a deeper meaning.
yeah, bro,
You know?
bro, you got it. Hey.
Hey, I get it now. You know what? I get it. You get it, yeah? I get it, yeah. No, bro, that's perfect, man. I think you saw universe. I think that is the meaning of life.
Bro, stop trying to find an outro, bro.
No, that's it.
That's it, bro.
That's it, bro. That is the meaning of life.
He doesn't know when to stop talking. He's like,